Всем привет, my friends. In this video, I'm going to be talking again about analytics and insights. It's one of my favorite topics by far, but this time specifically from the perspective of the methodology behind how to create really excellent dashboards and systems inside of a CRM. Like most things, it starts from thinking about why are we doing this in the first place? And when it comes to thinking about analytic processes and forecasting insights, it's because ultimately we want to improve operational efficiency. We want to be able to get deals done quicker. We want to be able to provide more value to our partnerships. And we want to be able to gain more value from the actions that we're taking. Now, there's a formula that I found is pretty useful for CRM systems, and that is to take the DUM approach. DUM is an acronym. It stands for D, things that are doable, U, understandable, M, manageable, and B, beneficial. What this means is that each one of our, when we look at a task, when we look at a project, when we look at a pipeline, we want to be able to think about what would be useful for us to be able to make this better somehow. And how would we know that that's improving? What would indicate that we're doing well or that we're doing terrible? And by being able to drill down deeper and deeper, we can get to the point of understanding what data, what metrics, what parameters might be interesting that could allow us to recreate that and to eventually visualize that. So this is actually the same process that I use to be able to put together all of these systems. And while this section of the document isn't necessarily meant to be an exhaustive list of all of the metrics that could be provided, I have gone in and set up some different sections that I think are probably the top 5 most important to be able to really have a full-on comprehensive assessment or comprehensive view of how the company, how the organization is performing overall. This is going to include social growth. So being able to follow and track how well are we growing, or perhaps are we shrinking? And ideally, to be able to determine how we're performing next to our peers in the industry. When it comes to task management, this is going to typically involve multiple parties, often from different divisions. So to be able to ensure that systems are set up as reliably as possible, so that way then details don't fall through the cracks, making sure that expectations are clear, making sure that there's feedback loops available for improvement, and to make sure that we're following through the timelines needed. When it comes to the grant and the partnership pipeline, this is going to be a matter of working together as a team and playing on each other's strengths, finding out what insights might different members of our team have that perhaps we can share with each other, making it to where as we find different insights of questions that people are asking or concerns or objections, that the conversation we're uncovering in conversations that we're having. We want to be able to bring that to the surface and see if there's trends behind it. Within the contact pipeline, there's so much valuable information that we're able to gather, whether that's something like geographic, simply asking people, hey, by the way, where are you guys based out of? Of course, we have a whole lot of anons that they may not necessarily want to share their exact city and damn sure not their address, but most people are willing to say, I'm in Europe, I'm in Africa, I'm in South America or something. So we can start to gain insights and find out, well, what's going to be useful for us? And then, of course, website performance. I haven't talked about that a whole lot in this documentation, quite frankly, because if I really had a chance to geek out on everything I've learned and know about website performance and website optimization, I'd probably have a document twice as long as this. But when it comes down to a quick general overview of conversion rate optimization, or CRO as we call it in the growth marketing space, it's something where everything comes back to how do we get to more effective conversions? What actions are we taking? What actions are actually providing value? What actions aren't providing value? And all of that comes from looking at the data, being able to determine what are we doing that is making a certain result? How are we measuring that result? Or how is the end user measuring that result? And then finally, asking ourselves the question, well, what can we do to be able to manage the result, to manage the effectiveness of that in a way that reaches the objective of what we're looking for? Now, of course, it gets pretty fancy in the e-com world. Everything from, it's not a question just of how many customers are we bringing in, but what's the average order value? What's the lifetime value? What's the reorder rates? What's the referral rates? Things get pretty complicated. Fortunately, in the Web3 space, it's nice and simple. Talk about bounce rates, talk about conversion rates, talk about lead gen and site load speed rates, and everything kind of comes together. So this video was meant to just be a quick overall assessment of the general categories of analytics that we look at. as well as to be able to talk a bit more about the methodology. Start from what is it that we're wanting to achieve? Ask ourselves, how would we know if that's working or not working? And then dive into what are the various components that would show us those details. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. And this concludes this is the final section for the business partnership program and how we set this up in a CRM. In the next section, excuse me, I'm going to describe my insights and discoveries from the research about how we can set up an amazing grant management program. Of course, much of it will be tied into some type of a CRM software, so we'll have a whole lot of echoes from what we learned in this section here. You've gone through the biggest part. This is definitely the densest part of the research. In these next sections, we'll go over more of the implementation side, what it could look like, what variables are important, and how we can make sure that we can serve our community the best way possible in the form of a grant program. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, y'all, bye for now.